Welcome back to Time to Write. I'm Amy Kelly, and this is my friend
Emily.
So we are so excited to be with you guys today. So the first thing we're going to start with is our high-low, like normal. So I would say for me this week, my high has been first that my oldest is home for a couple weeks in between spring and summer semesters of school, which is super fun. And I love the energy of having my kiddos in the house. So that's been great. And then the other thing that was a high this week was that my husband and I went to the Cure concert here in the Dallas area, which is one of our favorite bands from when we were in college together. And um, it was so fun. And part of the reason it was fun is last month we had gone to the Taylor Swift concert,
Right.
and just people watching at both of those and laughing at how different the crowds are. So one, you have girls in sparkly stuff, and maybe 1% of the people were male. And then you have the Cure with Robert Smith, who, bless his heart, as we say in the South, he is not aged super well. And so that added to the whole sea of black and black lipstick and then
Eyeliner.
eyeliner, and and the fact that the crowd was most definitely in our age, our age demographic, which was super fun. So yeah, it was
I
great.
totally love
It
that.
was totally great. And and then a writing high, and I know I talked about it the last time we recorded, which is I did go through my aha scene, and I have kind of gone through each character and identified what they go into it believing and why they believe it and what their goal is and what they think is going to happen. So I have all that set up. So I've got the infrastructure there so that I can write it
Yay.
this week. So I'm super
Very
excited.
exciting.
And then my low would be, I would say, just yeah, I haven't thought of one. I think I should probably talk to my counselor about the fact that I often don't have lows, because I know it's not because I don't have lows. It's just
Right.
that part of me that is the 7 in the
Like
Enneagram that's trying to
relentlessly positivity.
relentless positivity. So I would say, actually, you know what I would say? And again, this is releasing way after we've recorded it. So Mother's Day was this weekend, and I felt horrible. So I think at the concert that we were at, it was an outdoor event place. And so I just think my allergies and all that, I just had a total sinus thing. So thankfully it was Mother's Day. And so I just hung out in my jammies pretty much the whole day. So anyway,
Perfect.
yeah.
And my high is that my oldest kid is home from college, which is very
Oh,
exciting.
yay.
Yay. I would say my low is actually that all of his crap is sitting right inside the front door because it hasn't made it out of it's just all, we're all just walking around it. So there's a bit of a, I can remember coming home from college
I
and
know. Yeah. Yeah, me too. That's something. So my daughter is in school in California. So they're on the quarter system. She won't be home till close to the end of June. But I've already started kind of um, dropping little drips into our conversation of what are our expectations and what is that going to look like. So, because my mom always described it as, that first summer you come home from college is like putting toothpaste back in the
in the
tube.
tube.
Yeah, which you
So
just can't. So
yeah.
where do you, it's going to be a challenge. We all know it. So just
Yeah.
figuring out how to navigate. So
Yeah. That's gonna be a challenge.
yeah, while being super excited that
Yes.
they're
Yes.
home. Like it's that whole
Right.
both and
Both
thing.
and
Both
both
and
and.
both and.
Okay, so today we're gonna talk about your starting.
Oh, yeah, author marketing. We're going to talk about what the goal is, because as authors, it can be easy to get kind of roped into thinking that it's about selling books. And while it is, it also isn't. So yeah, so it's really not all about the sales, and it really can't be, because that's something that's really hard to measure. Like, how do you measure if your social media is impacting your sales?
Well, and
And
also, what if you're still in the emerging writer category and you don't even have anything to
to
sell
sell,
yet?
yeah.
Um,
Exactly. So I think there is, a correlation of how much time and effort have I put in, how many book sales do I have, but I think it's not always going to be uh, correlated as far as, I've sold a ton of books and it's because I was on social media. So I feel like as authors, we really have to make our goal something else.
else.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and this is also partially, we mentioned Susan Dennard several years ago. Not several years ago. We haven't been doing it that long. Several episodes ago, when we were talking about the magical
Magical
cookies.
cookies. Yeah.
But she recently put, if you haven't read her Substack as an author, you totally should. It's really, really good. But she had a post about what happened when her first 3 books came out and did not do nearly as well as expected. And her journey of really separating her individual value from how many books she sells.
Mm-hmm.
And her value as an author from how many books she sells, because it's so far beyond something we can control. Like, even if you're an indie author, it's beyond what you can control. And certainly if you're a traditionally published author, it's out of your control. So we just wanted to talk about some ways to measure individual success that aren't just about selling books.
Right. Well, and a couple of episodes back, we talked about the call to connection. And I think if there's one word that I would use to cover author marketing, it would be that. It would be connection. And with our social media, that's exactly what we're trying to, curate, is connection with our readers, connection with people who maybe haven't heard of us, connection with the people who have seen our stuff but haven't bought a book yet, people who have bought a book or books and are super loyal and talk to all their friends about our work, and that kind of thing. So, which are all kind of different areas. And so really looking at, if sales is not really a realistic or even scientifically super measurable goal, then
Or
what
really
is,
that useful.
or really that useful, then what is? Then what
Right.
is? So what would you say, Em?
So I feel like this is just super important to me, because one of the traps you'll get in if you're ever traditionally published is there's a real push to really push for pre-orders, and before your book comes out, you're pushing for pre-orders, you're pushing for reviews, you're pushing for because pre-orders are, all those sales hit on one day. So if you are going to make a bestseller list, if you're a new author, it's probably going to be that first week when all the pre-orders you did hit. But the biggest thing that I would say for us as emerging authors is, like, that is an absolute trap to put your energy into, because a lot of people that have that happen, they have the full force of advertising, which we're not doing, and all these other things that we don't really have access to. And so really, to understand that what we're doing here is building our sort of loyal people that are really interested in what we have to say. So this really isn't about trying to drive a bestseller list, and in fact, it's super rare that happens via social media, but people can build a really solid career as an author using social media. So what we're going to talk about is some of the things you can measure that will help tell you, are you doing things that are connecting with your audience? Are you doing things that are growing your community? Amy and I are both mostly active. I'm mostly active on TikTok and a little bit on Instagram.
I'm
Amy's
mostly active on
Instagram.
Insta. Yeah.
People that are on Facebook, that is a whole other thing that neither of us are very active on. And there are other There are a
Yeah.
lot of indie authors who built Facebook communities and had really great success with that.
Well,
That's
and I think this is an example of knowing where your audience is hanging out, knowing where
Mhm.
your ideal reader is hanging out. And for a
Right.
lot of people, it is on Facebook. So
Right. And
yeah.
so, but it doesn't, but that is a bit of a digression because it doesn't lose, even whether you're on Facebook, Instagrams, TikTok, using your newsletter, Substack, all the Medium, all these other places you could be, YouTube. The real thing is what you're trying to measure is, are you connecting with your audience?
Yes.
Are you growing it? Well, actually, Amy can really talk about this because with her business, Accomplished
Uh-huh.
Authors, this
Uh-huh.
is literally what she helps people do. So I'm going to hand this part over to Amy.
Okay.
Like
So yeah, the goal
the
of
goal.
yeah, right. And so I would say, especially in the beginning, you are not looking for just trying to get as many followers as you can. You are looking for engagement. And so, and I say this to a lot of people, I would rather have 100 followers who interact with me 50% of the time than 10,000 who only interact maybe 1% of the time or whatever. It's not so much about quantity as it is quality. So we're really looking at the quality of engagement. And you're really looking for people who are um, liking your stuff, commenting on your stuff, sharing your stuff, saving your stuff. So in some way interacting with you and your content. You're looking for people who DM you questions and want to connect that way. So, and then you're also, because I know this is something you and I have talked about a lot, you're trying to move them from whatever platform you're using to your own email list. Because the issue is when they're your Instagram followers, they're actually Instagram's followers,
Right.
not yours. And if they change the algorithm or something happens, like the platform explodes and goes down.
Right. Which has totally happened to me with my Twitter. I had a very nice
Yeah.
Twitter space, lots of friends. I mean, lots of people I really interacted with, and it's just gone. So
She gone.
which is a
Yeah.
bummer.
Yeah. So you really want to have a good email list that you've put together. So that's something we'll talk about in a whole nother episode.
Right.
Because that's an important part of what we're doing as authors. But yeah, really looking at things that you can measure on the platform that you're on that shows how engaged your audience is.
Right. And that and it's weird because you can't always see it, right? You're like, someone saved my thing. Why? You don't necessarily know why, but just the fact that they saved it, that just gives you another piece of information. And let's say you're listening to this episode right now and you're saying, no one has ever, commented on my stuff. No one has ever saved something I made. No one has ever shared it. Okay, well, again, just the way we always talk about, take a deep breath, take a second. You can bring a quality of discernment to the stuff you've made, and you can ask yourself, is there a reason why? Because sometimes it's a really small reason. And here's an example that I recently came across, which is, and we talked about this a little on the call to connection episode, but a little bit. Sometimes all it is you're hi, I'm whatever, I'm a author. Nobody's watching it. So if you've got a video
well, and you have to tell them how to interact with it. So that's one thing. But then the other thing is, if you really picture social media as a room that you're walking into, like a party where you don't know anybody, and you walk into the party and you stand in the middle of the room and you're waiting for people to come talk to you. Nobody is going to come talk to you necessarily, right? Like you have to start the conversation. And so what that means is it's not only about your content, it's about finding your people, following them, engaging with their content as well, which may sound a little overwhelming. My rule of thumb, though, to try to make it a little easier is I try to hit 3, 3, 3. Like, So 3 new people to follow, 3 new things to comment on, like you're going back and commenting, and then saving 3 things. Right.
Mhm.
And so when you do that, you're reaching out to other people, you're teaching the algorithm the kind of things that you like to look at, and the kind of, content that you want them to put in front of you, and you're growing your audience.
Right.
Right.
And so as you're looking at growth, the other pieces I would say, and this is actually when we get into, actually I'll save this for when we get into our
wrap up.
talking about more practical stuff. So I would say the biggest mindset to bring to this is patience. You're playing a long game. We are building an author career. Like if you're listening to Time to Write, I'm going to say odds are that you are someone who has been writing for a while, thinks about writing, likes writing, doesn't have any plans to quit writing, right? Like we're not, this is not I know how to have you make $1 million with one thing and then you can go off and sit in your chair. And because like, if I was on a Caribbean island, I can tell you what I would be doing. I would be writing. Yeah. Like this is just the thing I've had to accept about myself. And I know Amy Kelly's just the same. And I suspect that many of you are the same. Now posting on social media, I don't know that I would be doing that, but we'll see. When I'm on my private island, I will talk about that. But so you're playing the long game. You can have, if you have 50 followers right now and you interact with 5 authors that you admire and they, and people start commenting on your stuff, amazing. You are walking on the journey. You're here, you're doing it, you're doing it, you're doing it, you're doing it. So what are some practical steps once we've adopted that mindset?
So I would say that you really need to think about what you can identify that's not book sales that you want to hone in on and focus on. So I wouldn't say that you're going to, that list that I just kind of reeled off, like comments, shares, reviews from people, you're not going to do all of them. Focus in on one and really try to make it grow. Right. So whatever that looks like. And I would also say, and as part of that 333 list, one of the things that I would do to interact with other people's content, I'm just kind of circling back really quick because I wanted to make sure to mention this, is to share other people's stuff. So you can take their post and share it in your stories and tag them and interact with them that way. Tag them in the post where you're talking about them on my Amy Kelly, the Ish Girl Instagram, the quotes that I do from young adult books, I always tag the author and the publisher.
Right.
And several times the author has reached out and we've had a great conversation, which has been super fun. So definitely you're not just like putting your stuff out there and waiting on people.
Right.
You are interacting and you're the life of the party. Right.
Well, and also every social media is not that old, people. Every single person that you are interacting with on some level, unless they were like a, influencer as a toddler, but the rest of us can remember when we started. So when you're commenting, don't be weird. Don't be weird. I'm sorry. That is really important. Don't be weird.
Okay, wait, give us an example. What is weird? What would be weird?
No, like, oh my gosh, I'm just a poor, lowly, aspiring author. Thank you so much for interacting with my. No. We're all.
Yeah. What you're saying is remember that you're already in the room.
You're already in the room.
If you feel like being an author is like a room that the door is locked for you, that's a mindset you need to shift because you are in the room.
You're here.
You're here.
You're here. It's happening.
Yeah. So interact as a peer. That doesn't mean
you have to be like, I'm here. I got your next best-selling book right here in my truck in my car, ready to. that's another, like, that's the other side of it, right? But I feel like that always comes from an underlying belief that you don't really belong. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that sort of, so anyway,
Overcompensating. Yeah.
right. Overcompensating. So
So
the
yeah.
practical step for you to take is to identify one thing you are going to measure that's not book sales. And Amy Kelly, I think a
Mhm.
really great tutorial for you to do is how to go to see the insights
I was
on
just thinking that,
Instagram,
how to
because
look at
people may not
insight.
know how to go see.
Yeah,
You can.
I will put that together and have it on my YouTube, which is the Ish Girl.
Yeah,
So,
because
so
you
yeah.
can. So identify
Yeah.
what you're going to measure, and then you're going to identify how to do it in a way that isn't super overwhelming. So people, what I'm saying is, do not say to yourself, and I'm so guilty of this, so do not build a whole spreadsheet that says, I'm going to grow. I may have actually done this. I'm going to grow by X%, and I'm going to check in every day, and I'm going to, no, no. You're going to say, I want to increase my likes. Let's say likes. Let's pick likes as a good example.
Mhm.
I want to increase my likes by 5% in a month,
Yeah. So yeah.
let's say.
Well, and I think even taking a step back from that, I think that you can just look at what has your engagement been already. So you look at, um, for instance, on Reels, you can look at how many people have watched it, and then you can take the number of people who've liked it and do the math on that to see what percentage you have
Right.
going. So, and I would say just to give you an idea, I would say even just like 20-25%, that's really
That's
good and amazing. And
huge.
that's
That's
huge and amazing.
huge.
So even like if you're starting at 5%, 10%, whatever, like, or zero, right? Like
Zero.
you just want the number. It's not like you're trying to hit an exact number.
No.
You just want it
But
to
I
increase.
think as you sort of start, if you know that you're measuring, okay, I'm going to try to grow my likes. It's a little bit that, what's that business saying? You manage what you monitor.
Right. What you pay
So if
attention
you
to grows.
know you want to start increasing likes, the only reason I suggest setting some kind of a number is, and this is very much my brain, the part of my brain that would be like, well, I got 7 likes on that one. I got 5 likes on that one. So that's growth. And it's like, well, yeah, but that's pretty close. Like, but the thing about your social media, guys, that's so interesting to look at is when you start to say, like, oh, I'm going to try to do more of whatever is getting likes. And or to look at, what do I like? You can go and look. You can look and see what you have liked.
Right.
So if you can look what you have liked, you might say, like, oh, I might want to make something like this.
Right. And the other thing to remember is as you're making things, kind of, if you think about your customer's journey, whether they're just getting to know you or looking at your books or loyal followers, like those are 3 very distinct areas. And so you want your posts to be hitting all of those people. We'll do an episode on this where we really kind of break that down, but you're looking for different things to measure for each of those. So if it's somebody who's new to you, and maybe you're new and you're trying to build your audience, then really what you're looking for is reach on your posts. So you want to get it in front of as many people as possible, which again, you don't have control over. That's the algorithm, other than you're going and interacting with people. So the thing you can control for that is, who are you going and interacting with? How much time are you kind of spending giving to other people what you want, right? So that's a lot of how social media works as well. Like if you want likes, you got to give likes. And then really looking at, maybe if you have a website, how often are they clicking, like on Instagram, the link in your bio, and those kinds of things. And
Right. And and the thing that I feel like is really important, depending on where you are on your author journey, we were talking about this, and this might make you feel like you have steam coming out of your ears. You're like, oh my God, I can never do this. And I'm just going to tell you, you can. You totally can. Baby step it. Do not spend 12 hours on this. Do not treat. No. This always comes secondarily to the writing. It always comes after the writing, I think, because otherwise we
Oh,
wouldn't have new
absolutely.
themes.
Absolutely. Well, and let me just, I'm going to do a shameless self promotion here. I actually have a free workshop that I'm offering right
Right.
now. So if you go to my Instagram bio at accomplished authors, then you can sign up. I give it like once a month, every month. And if you're in the Dallas area, I actually do one in person. And it's really just a really solid overview of how to get started, things to look at. And so if you're at ground zero, or even if you've been doing it for a little bit and want, a little more to go a little bit deeper, come hang out with me and I will walk through it. So
I do have one
yeah.
other thing to say about likes before we go to our
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
books. One thing about and this is the other thing, is if you're managing, okay, I get the most things I get likes on is cute pictures of my kids when they were small. That is not related because my Instagram is overlapping. I didn't start a new author Instagram, so it's people that know me in real life. Like, no, those aren't the likes I'm chasing. Don't just post more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want likes on my book related content. Of course,
Yeah.
my kid's prom picture got a lot of that's not.
Yeah.
So that's the other piece, is like, don't become so locked in that you're just like, oh, I'm just pursuing likes. No, it's all within the service of building people that are excited about your books,
Yes. Your ideal reader. Your
who's a
ideal reader.
who may not
And
know you in real life.
yeah,
And
exactly.
probably doesn't, in fact. Okay, so that's our time almost.
Okay.
I'm going to start with a book that's changing or did change my life. And in this case, it's not a book, it's a movie. On the airplane, I watched again the Greta Gerwig Little Women, while also reading the screenplay, which for writers, you guys, you can download tons of screenplays that are all over the internet.
I love it.
Act of reading the screen, and I also watched Four Weddings and a Funeral because it was a long flight, and while reading the screenplay.
I haven't seen that in forever.
Yeah, it was on the airplane. Both things had me absolutely bawling. Number one, I'm sure the people around me were like, what is wrong with her? But second of all, both things I think really, to me, were just so much about there's that great scene where Jo just says to her mother, why am I like this? I just,
it makes me want to cry just talking about it. Just the depths of despair.
I've been angry every day of my life. And I just feel like that there's this picture, and I was reading something, they're saying Greta Gerwig's movie, that's in the book. Greta Gerwig's movie is the first movie that put it in there. It's the first movie that had Marmee say, I've been angry every day of my life. I'm like, that's what makes her a real woman.
Yeah.
She's not based on, she's based on a real person. She's based on, Louisa May Alcott's mother, who was not a cardboard cutout, who just provided cookies. She was a real woman doing the best she can. So I just felt like, for me, it was such an inspiration about why we do what we do. That's something that was written however many years ago, 100 and something, managed to reach out, grab my heart, make me cry on a plane. So
yeah.
Anyway, what about you?
Okay. Again, with the romance novel, but I actually read, I was looking it up while you were talking, romantic comedy. It's by Curtis Sitterfield. I think Sittenfeld. Thank you. So Curtis Sittenfeld, and it was super interesting. I was definitely drawn in. I did put it down after, probably I did put it down at the 25-30% mark, because I really felt like she was an unlikable character, the main character. She was cringy and I did not relate to her in a lot of ways, but then it definitely got better. So it was good. Again,
Yeah.
you were talking about in our last episode, like you only are able to kind of see the author pieces, like the structure pieces, if there are seams. I kind of feel like maybe there were some seams there. I haven't quite
Mhm.
identified them yet, but yeah, it was really interesting and good. And the whole premise, which is basically it was like a whole Saturday Night Live type show that this lady was writing on, and she wanted to do a sketch about how really dorky guys end up with beautiful movie star model-esque women, and why doesn't that happen in reverse? And then it happens in reverse with her and a pop singer. So I don't know. I'm still pondering, like,
Oh,
what do I
interesting.
think about that? Like, yeah, and it had a
Yeah.
very feminist slant. So
Yeah.
so
Well, and
yeah.
she historically hasn't written, she wrote a book I love years ago called Prep, which was her first book,
Okay.
which is about a girl in
A
prep school.
prep
I
school.
remember
Yeah.
reading it and being like, whoa, because she was such the character was, I always felt like at that age, especially in college, like what would be the point of me writing? Because who cares about a girl like me? And not
Uh-huh.
that I went to prep school, but when I read Prep, I was like, oh, she's just a girl. She's just like and I really like that. But her career since then has been a really interesting sort of
Yeah.
moving around. So anyway, a
Yeah.
little bit of
So
writer inside baseball.
yeah, it was really interesting. So
All
yeah.
right.
One
Sorry.
more. And then I also read a lot of Bartlett's what is it? Quotations.
Quotations.
Yeah, yeah.
I
To
love
look
the
for. I'm
Bartlett's
trying to
quotations.
do not have a working title for my work in progress. And so I was trying to find something clever.
Yay. I
So
love
yeah.
that.
All right. Oh, we have a
A
Patreon.
Patreon.
A Patreon. So you can link to it directly underneath wherever you have played your podcast. So
Right.
we would love your support. Thanks so
Exactly.
much.
Join us.
All right.
Okay. Bye, friends.
Bye. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks so much for being with us today.
We love our people and we want to get to know you better.
So email us at questions@timetowritepodcast.com to have your questions considered for the show.
You can also suggest topics by emailing us there.
Also, drop us a review on Apple Podcasts. Not only will it thrill us,
Seriously, we read everyone.
it also helps others find the show.
We're driven by sharing stories, and your review helps us do that.
Just remember, your stories matter, and we're rooting for you to find time to write.
Even if it's only 5 minutes. 5 minutes, you can do it.
You can do it.